you beautiful bastards. Hope you have a fantastic Monday. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show. And a quick note, do not mind the infinite void behind me. My new set is currently being built, and this is kind of just an in-between. But with that said, let's jump into it. And the first thing we're going to talk about today, and who are people angry at today news, we had Demi Lovato pop up. And that's because yesterday Demi Lovato was responding to fans on Twitter. One fan asks her, what's the funniest prank you ever pulled? And Demi Lovato responded, I hired a lady of the night in Vegas and sent her to Max's hotel room to surprise him. Max being her bodyguard, adding, she walked into his room without permission and grabbed him in his area and he freaked the fuck out, ha 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 ha. And immediately there was backlash. Many people not happy to hear about this prank, many calling it sexual assault. Some saying on Demi's part it was specifically sexual harassment, sexual assault as far as the other woman. Others saying this proves the double standard. What I learned today, according to Demi Lovato, a sexual assault against a man is funny. Can we all understand in 2018 that a sexual assault against a man is not a normal thing and we shouldn't laugh about it? News, a man has feelings too, a man can be sexually assaulted too. And in response to all of this, Demi Lovato deleted the tweet. She ended up responding to the backlash with, I swear I could tweet something about craving jelly beans and it would offend someone. And that response, unsurprisingly, only really angered many fans as it looked like she was missing their point. And then a few hours later, Demi Lovato followed up with, for all of those coming at me right now, listen to the lyrics of Warrior and maybe you'll have more compassion for someone who made a simple mistake. Of all people I know about sexual abuse, you don't have to educate me. Later adding, so sorry if anyone was offended. And of course, even that response stirred up more debate. Here she referred to her earlier tweets as a simple mistake, but before she was acting like this was just outrage culture. Others arguing whether or not her own experience with sexual abuse changes this situation at all. And of course, is this an example of the double standard about sexual assault and sexual abuse against men? And so I want to pass those questions off to you. I'd love to know your thoughts around this story. Then in What Are You Doing news, let's talk about that dancing FBI agent you maybe heard about from this weekend. Now, if you haven't seen this video, you haven't heard about this story, before you get excited and you're like, oh, is it like one of those videos where you see police dancing with the local youth? You know, they're being members of their community, showing they're just people too. It's not really that kind of video. Instead, the video we're talking about today shows an off-duty FBI agent dancing in mile-high spirits in downtown Denver on Saturday. We see the agent dancing in the middle of a crowd, and then he launches into a backflip, but then mid-flip, his weapon flies out from his waistband holster. The agent then lunges for his gun, but then accidentally fires it as he tries to pick it back up. And then seemingly, instead of checking to see if anyone was injured, he raises both arms and walks away. According to authorities, one person was struck in the lower leg, but is now in good condition. An FBI spokesperson has referred to the incident as a personnel matter for the FBI, and the Denver police will lead the investigation. As of right now, the authorities have not identified the agent to the public. They do say that he was taken in for questioning, but was not arrested. As far as the Denver police, they will continue to investigate, but said the district attorney's office will determine whether charges will be filed against the agent. Also adding, possible charges regarding the incident are pending laboratory results taken from the subject to determine if alcohol was a factor and forensic evidence. And personally, I'm left wondering, is it better or worse if he was drunk? Like, from a legal standpoint, I understand why this is a massive part of the investigation, but also the alternative is that he was sober and thought that this was a good idea. I mean, we have multiple angles that prove what happened. It's really now just a debate of if someone is naturally stupid enough to do that or if they were drunk. Drunk or not, from a common sense standpoint, what we witnessed is pure negligence. I apologize to all of the members of the backflipping concealed carry enthusiast association, but it's just a bad idea is what I'm trying to get across. I'm surprised I'm having to say that, but it just is. On that PSA, that's where I'm going to end this one. But from that, I want to share some stuff I love today, and today in Awesome, brought to you by BetterHelp.com/DeFranco. BetterHelp, if you don't know, is a fantastic place where you can get affordable private online counseling. You get access to licensed, trained, experienced, accredited psychologists, marriage and family therapists, clinical social workers, and board licensed professional counselors. And all you've got to do is go to BetterHelp.com/DeFranco. You fill out a questionnaire, they match you with a counselor, and you can start counseling today. And really leaning into the affordable aspect, after 3 months, the service becomes cheaper for you. If money is an issue for you in general, you can see if you're eligible for a financial aid discount. And on a personal note, BetterHelp isn't just a sponsor to this show. It is a service I actively use and I'm incredibly thankful for. The main point, if it sounds interesting to you, you want to try it out, go to BetterHelp.com/DeFranco. But a big note, if you are in crisis or you know someone is in danger, do not use this site. I'll link to resources below instead where you can get immediate help. And it is very important to be aware of the differences there. And the first bit of awesome today is actually self-promo awesome. I very rarely in CIA kick out to the vlog, but today's video is really just extra special to me, especially as we're in this kind of studio transition. Whether you're a long-time beautiful bastard, you're new here, it's a kind of a great jumping in point. Then we got a trailer for Wreck-It Ralph 2, which just looks fantastic. We also got the trailer for Widows. We had Paramount Pictures release the behind the scenes of Tom Cruise doing a Halo jump scene. And just seeing the amount of work that went into that scene, it's both both impressive and intimidating. Then we had Jodie Foster answering the web's most searched questions, Ted Ed asking, can you solve the penniless pilgrim riddle? And if you want to see the full versions of everything I just shared, the secret link of the day, or anything at all, links as always are in the description down below. And then let's talk about Guatemala, which has just experienced a deadly volcanic eruption. Now, despite the country being small, roughly the size of Tennessee, Guatemala is home to 37 volcanoes. And while most of those volcanoes are not active, there is one mammoth volcano standing at over 12,000 feet called Volcán de Fuego, meaning volcano of fire, and it has erupted on and off for centuries, including one non-life-threatening eruption earlier this year. But on Sunday, the volcano once again roared to life, releasing black smoke and ash into the air, resulting in the volcano's most violent eruption in more than 40 years. And along with that, the volcano also released a 5-mile-long pyroclastic flow down the mountain. And that specific part is horrifying because pyroclastic flows are incredibly fast and can reach speeds of up to 430 miles per hour as they travel down the mountainside. So these pyroclastic flows are very different from the much slower lava flows that we saw in Hawaii last month, which unfortunately meant that anyone in the direct path of this flow in Guatemala had virtually no chance to escape. And according to the head of Guatemala's National Forensic Sciences Institute, 62 people have died from the eruption. There's also another nearby village called El Libertad that is currently unreachable, leading to fears that the casualty count will actually grow. According to local media reports, at this point, the dead include at least 3 children and 1 rescue worker. And so far, all of the casualties have occurred in 3 towns just miles away from the volcano. And in addition to the speed, a local journalist in Guatemala spoke with the BBC and discussed why this eruption in particular was so devastating.
It was a surprise to everyone at just around lunchtime here. So there would have been a lot of people out and about, and it's market day in many of the communities, the rural communities around where the volcano is. So, I fear that a lot of people will have been caught off guard. And we've also got now a huge trail of ash and lava, about over 11 kilometres, people at the scene are reporting, and it's moving very fast. So the fear is that, people who didn't think that they were in danger because they weren't so close to the volcano eruption site actually could have been caught up in the lava and the ash that's flowed since then.
Additionally, beyond the immediate area around the volcano, major cities in the country have been impacted by huge clouds of ash. The volcano is just 11 miles away from the popular tourist town of Antigua. It's just 25 miles away from Guatemala City, which is the country's capital that has a population of over 3 million people. Thousands of travelers are currently stranded as the country's main international airport has had to shut down. But there is hope that this afternoon they will be able to reopen. But ultimately, as of right now, the situation is very much we have to wait to see what happens next. Late last night, officials said that the danger is still far from over as there may continue to be more pyroclastic and mud flows. There was also a 4.9 earthquake recorded off the coast of Guatemala this morning, although right now it's unclear whether that is related to the eruption. But ultimately, like I said, we're just going to have to wait and see, 1, for more information to come in, and 2, to see what happens next in the country. And then let's talk about the U.S. Supreme Court, who very likely we're going to be covering several times this month. And the reason they're going to be popping up so much is that by the end of the month, they have to decide 29 cases. And of the 29, some of the heavy hitters include President Trump's travel ban. Is it constitutional? Can the police track the location of your cell phone without a warrant? Can states collect sales tax from online retailers? Can purely partisan gerrymandering be unconstitutional? And the one we're talking about today, can a Christian baker refuse to bake a cake for a same-sex couple? And if that question sounds familiar to you, it's because we've talked about this story off and on for about 6 years. Back in 2012, David Mones and Charlie Craig planned to get married in Massachusetts and then return to Colorado to celebrate with family and friends. And the reason for this is at that time, same-sex marriages were not recognized in Colorado. So those helping with the celebration plan suggested that the couple get a cake from a place called Masterpiece Bakery in Denver. In July of 2012, the couple visits Masterpiece Cake Shop to place an order. Jack Phillips, the bakery's owner, informed the couple that he did not provide cakes for same-sex weddings and celebrations due to his religious beliefs. And after the couple was denied, they filed a complaint with the Colorado Civil Rights Commission, which resulted in a lawsuit. Next thing we know, December 2013, Judge Robert Spencer of the Colorado Office of Administrative Courts rules that the bake shop had violated Colorado's public accommodations law, specifically the Colorado Anti-Discrimination Act, an act that requires businesses to serve customers equally regardless of disability, race, creed, color, sex, sexual orientation, marital status, national origin, or ancestry. But to that, Masterpiece Cake Shop countered by saying that requiring his business to provide such a cake violated his rights to freedom of speech and the free exercise of religion. Then in May of 2014, the Colorado Civil Rights Commission affirms the previous judge's decision. And here, Phillips was ordered to change his company's policies as well as offer comprehensive staff training to employees. Additionally, he was also required to provide quarterly reports about how it handled prospective customers. Masterpiece Cake Shop then appeals the decision with the help of Alliance Defending Freedom, a conservative legal nonprofit. Then, August 2015, the Colorado Court of Appeals rules that Phillips cannot cite his religious beliefs and his refusal to provide a service to same-sex couples. In April 2016, the Colorado Supreme Court declines to hear the appeal from Phillips. ADF then petitions the Supreme Court to hear the case on behalf of Phillips. The Supreme Court then agrees to take the case, and that brings us to today. today, where the Supreme Court ruled 7-2 in favor of Masterpiece Cake Shop. But a big note there is the court didn't actually decide on the big issue of the case, whether business owners can refuse services to gay individuals based on their religious objections. Instead, they ruled that the Colorado Civil Rights Commission had not adequately taken into account the religious beliefs of Jack Phillips. Writing for the case, Justice Anthony Kennedy said that while it is unexceptional that Colorado law can, quote, protect gay persons in acquiring products and services on the same terms and conditions that are offered to other members of the public, the law must be applied in a manner that is neutral toward religion. The neutral and respectful consideration to which Phillips was entitled was compromised here. The Civil Rights Commission's treatment of his case has some elements of a clear and impermissible hostility toward the sincere religious beliefs that motivated his objection. Also going on to call the reason and motive for the baker's refusal to be based on his sincere religious beliefs and convictions, but then added, the court's precedents make clear that the baker, in his capacity as the owner of a business serving the public, might have his right to the free exercise of religion limited by generally applicable laws. And as far as the broader issue in question, the justice writes, the outcome of cases like this and other circumstances must await further elaboration in the courts, all in the context of recognizing that these disputes must be resolved with tolerance, without undue disrespect to sincere religious beliefs, and without subjecting gay persons to indignities when they seek goods and services in an open market. And so to kind of simplify the situation and clear up any confusion, this decision is technically in the favor of Masterpiece Cake Shop, but not against a same-sex couple's rights. The court didn't just rule that the Constitution gives people the right to discriminate against others. The ruling is against the Colorado Civil Rights Commission itself and how it acted in this moment. That they didn't act in a neutral fashion and exhibited hostility towards religion. And based off of what Kennedy said in his opinion, as well as the two other liberal justices that joined him in it, if another case like this went to the Supreme Court and everything was handled properly, everyone was treated neutral, at the very least, it seems like it would be a 5-4 vote. But also a big note there is that's based off of the current Supreme Court justices, so things could change in the very near future. You currently have 2 Supreme Court justices in their 80s. But with all of that said, hopefully that clears up the situation. There's been a lot of confusion as far as what this decision really means. And also with this story, I would love to pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts around it? And then let's talk about the massive presidential pardon debate around Donald Trump. So on Saturday, the New York Times published a 20-page memo from Donald Trump's legal team to Robert Mueller. At that time, that was Jay Sekulow and John Dowd. Dowd, of course, has since left Trump's legal team. And the letter lays out 16 topics that Mueller's team had wanted to discuss with the president, including the firing of James Comey. And the letter states, among other things, that Trump cannot illegally obstruct the investigation because he has the power to, if he wished, terminate the inquiry or even exercise his power to pardon if he so desired. Now, the letter itself doesn't explicitly state that Trump is considering pardoning himself. He could have been referencing Michael Flynn, but it is implied, and even Trump addressed it this morning in a tweet saying, as has been stated by numerous legal scholars, I have the absolute right to pardon myself, but why would I do that when I have done nothing wrong? Okay, so what power does the president actually have? He does have the constitutional authority to terminate the FBI director. He has the constitutional authority to direct the Justice Department to open or close an investigation. And of course, the president has the power to pardon any person before, during, or after an investigation and or conviction. It's what's referred to as a prospective pardon. And while the president has never pardoned himself, in 1974, President Ford issued a full, free, and absolute pardon to Nixon for all the crimes he committed or may have committed. But at that time, Nixon was no longer president, so it was a different situation. And as of right now, it is unclear whether the president would legally be able to pardon himself, although the Constitution does not expressly forbid it. Now, as far as the argument against Donald Trump being able to pardon himself, you have people like Richard Primus, a legal scholar and law professor at the University of Michigan, saying, it's really hard to imagine asking the framers, hey, do you think the most powerful person in the government you're creating should be able to break laws and then let himself off the hook? And having the framers answer, yes, he should be able to do that, especially when the framers of the Constitution were reacting to the tyranny of King George and were setting up checks and balances. And along with that, people have been pointing to a 3-page memo from the Justice Department's Office of Legal Counsel that was written in 1974, saying the president cannot pardon himself because no one may be a judge in his own case. And the timing of this was just days before Richard Nixon resigned. The letter also admits that Donald Trump dictated the letter that Trump Jr. released about the Trump Tower meeting. This revelation after the Trump administration consistently said that it wasn't the case. In addition to this, the 20-page memo also hit on obstruction of justice, specifically that the president cannot obstruct it. Trump's lawyers arguing the president's actions here, by virtue of his position as the chief law enforcement officer, could neither constitutionally nor legally constitute obstruction because that would amount to him obstructing himself, and that he could, if he wished, terminate the inquiry or even exercise his power to pardon if he so desired. Adding, a president can also order the termination of an investigation by the Justice Department or FBI at any time and for any reason. Such an action obviously has an impact on the investigation, but that is simply an effect of the president's lawful exercise of his constitutional power and cannot constitute obstruction of justice. And so essentially the simplified argument here is that the president is above the law. Obstruction charges rely on corrupt intent, but if you are already by your position above the law and you're using the tools that the president of the United States States has, then you are not obstructing justice, is essentially the argument. And indeed, if you look, no president has ever faced criminal charges. Of course, Nixon was pardoned by Gerald Ford. You also famously had President Bill Clinton, who made an agreement with prosecutors on his last day in office to avoid criminal charges. And the thing is, while the 20-page memo has stirred many different debates up, it all might not even be necessary. And the reason I say that is some experts believe that there is a workaround in the system for Trump. Hypothetically, thanks to the 25th Amendment, President Trump could say, just for a small period of time, I can't be president. Maybe he has a surgery or something. During that time, the vice president would be the acting president with all of the powers of the full presidency. During that time, then President Pence issues a prospective pardon for Donald Trump, and then afterwards, Donald Trump could take back his position. But that, of course, is just kind of a hypothetical situation, and seems unlikely if Donald Trump's team does believe that he could pardon, that he won't, but that he could. And to be clear, this hypothetical, or even the self-pardon, it's believed by many experts that it would likely lead to impeachment. But I mention it because in this political environment, you kind of have to be ready and open to everything happening. Actually, the question I want to leave you with this story, and I'm not asking you because I think you're a constitutional expert, but I just want your opinion, whether you're left, right, down the middle, no matter who is in the office of the president, whether they are left, right, down the middle, do you think they should have the power to pardon themselves? Does it make sense to you that the presidency should have that level of shielding, or no, it goes against the entire idea of checks and balances? And that's where we're going to end today's show. And remember, if you like this video, you like what I'm trying to do on this channel, hit that like button. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Also, follow me on Twitter to make sure you don't miss these videos. And actually, if you did miss the last Philip DeFranco show, you want to catch up, click or tap right there to watch that. Or if you want to watch a brand new year in review video, click or tap right there. But that said, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.